What is up, guys? It is Ben. Welcome back to the channel, and we are here for week 10 of the NFL picks and predictions. And if we have learned anything from this season so far, it's always expect the unexpected. It's a long season, and sometimes these NFL twists and turns on how the season's going to go, they're almost exhausting for some fans and gracious for others. We also had the trade deadline, and we'll cover that with some teams here. But before we get started, I just thought I'd tell you how I did last week. Either I wasn't paying attention to who I was picking, or I was very confused of why I picked some, but I went with a 9-6 record last week for week 9, which brings my total to 81-57. Again, some questionable picks for me. I don't know what happened. With that out of the way, let's get on with the Thursday night matchup, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. Cincinnati Bengals and Baltimore Ravens. Cincinnati is heading to Baltimore to take on the Ravens in a possible revenge game on Thursday Night Football. Bengals, they looked great against the Raiders last week. They looked like they actually were a complete team there. Both the offense and the defense were clicking. Joe Burrow, once again, 5 touchdowns. Second time this season he's done that. I mean, he had a heck of a game, as well as everybody else on the offense. And Trey Hendrickson. I mean, there's not many things that can stop that guy. I mean, he had 4 sacks in the game. He looked dominant. Same thing can be said about the Baltimore Ravens. Wow. 41-10 against the Denver Broncos. I really thought that Broncos defense was better than expected, but maybe it's just that the Ravens are better than we all anticipate. Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson. I mean, the list goes on. The Ravens are firing on all cylinders, and there's not much stopping them right now. So for this Thursday matchup, it's going to be a nail-biter yet again. Almost like all these AFC divisional matchups, unless you're the Browns. Sorry, Browns fans. But I am going to go with the upset here. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Baltimore Ravens with a score of 28-21. Carolina Panthers and New York Giants. Seriously, who was the one that came up with this matchup? If you're trying to market American football on an international level, I would not suggest using these teams. But I digress. Both of these teams face off against each other with the same exact record of 2-7. Both of them are terrible teams as a whole. Offense, terrible. Defense, terrible. The only thing that was different was that the Panthers ended up winning their game in a surprise win over the Saints, where for the first time I saw Bryce Young with a smile on his face as a Panther. It only took about a year and a half. In my personal opinion, I think the Saints were just shooting themselves in the foot more or less, but that's my opinion. For the Giants, they did have a pretty decent game against the Commanders. A lot of people thought they were just going to fold over and this was not going to be a competition, including myself. But it was interesting to see them come back only to be short 5 points for the win. And no offense to Giants fans, but Malik Neighbors is being wasted at New York. He needs to find a new home soon. Based on the skill level between these two teams, I don't expect to be a high-scoring affair, but this could be an interesting game that comes down to the final drive. But give me the upset here. Give me the Carolina Panthers to beat the New York Giants here, 20-17. Sorry you have to watch this in person, Germany. San Francisco 49ers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 49ers, they're coming off of a bye week, which was much needed here. Some rest and relaxation for a lot of key players. But the week prior to that, they were on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys when they beat them 30-24. It kind of looked like that whole team was starting to kind of click again here. There was the next man up because I know Jordan Mason, he got hurt a little bit in the game. We had some injuries both on offense and defense. But overall, Brock Purdy really kind of pulled up the bootstraps and he really kind of led that team to victory. And some more good news for the 49ers. You guys are getting back Christian McCaffrey sooner than later. With him being placed on IR, it really has shown a big drop in performance for the 49ers, but they have held their ground, but it's just going to get better for them as he gets back in the lineup. For Tampa Bay, I did not watch that Monday night game against the Chiefs at all. I mean, I only watched about 2 or 3 minutes worth of it when it was about 7-3, but then I stopped watching afterwards. But I was for sure surprised seeing that they were both tied at 24 and going into overtime. After watching some of those highlights, I personally thought the Buccaneers had that game, but unfortunately, overtime rules were not in their favor, and Chiefs ended up with a win. Do I believe the overtime rules from the postseason should be applied to the regular season? Absolutely, 100%. Are we going to see that anytime soon? I don't know. Still, a valiant effort for Baker Mayfield and the rest of that Tampa Bay squad for keeping it close. As of recording this, it seems that McCaffrey is likely to suit up against the Buccaneers, but he won't do a full workload. But still, I think his presence on the field is what's going to give the 49ers the advantage between these two teams. I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this one. It will be a close game, even on the road, but give me the 49ers to win 34-31. Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints. In my personal opinion, the Atlanta Falcons are one of those sleeper teams where they are so explosive and they're just so fun to watch. And with a little luck on their side, can see themselves as a high seed for the playoffs. Despite only winning by 6 points to the Dallas Cowboys, the Falcons were in total control last week. 3 touchdowns for Kirk Cousins and 1 long touchdown to Darnell Mooney. Falcons proved once again that they are not to be taken lightly. For the New Orleans Saints, not much could be said about them. They fired their head coach Dennis Allen. They have given the playbook to their offensive coordinator. And sure enough, too, last week they lost to the Carolina Panthers, which automatically makes you the laughingstock of the NFL for the week. And for the cherry on top, they did lose star wide receiver Chris Olave to a concussion where he got pinned between 2 defenders, which sparked a chain of tweets by Michael Thomas, who's a former wide receiver for the Saints, criticizing Derek Carr and his decision-making, specifically putting his wide receivers in a vulnerable position. Majority of the time, the interim head coach gets the win on their very first start, but I don't see that happening with the Falcons coming to town. There is no doubt in my mind, Atlanta's going to take this on the road, 28-10. Denver Broncos and Kansas City Chiefs. Can someone explain to me how the Chiefs are 8-0? I mean, don't get me wrong, they are a great team, but I've seen teams in the past that are 8-0 that can run circles around the Kansas City Chiefs right now. And on top of that, they're just adding more weapons to their arsenal. Newly acquired wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins scored a touchdown against the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football last week. As a fan whose team is in the AFC South, I don't miss him one bit. I do believe the Chiefs have the best depth out of any other team in the NFL right now. If they can't get you on the run, they'll get you on the pass. If they can't get you on the pass, they'll get you on the run. And also their defense is just exceptional as well. I mean, there are just too many weapons here. But again, it's how they're winning the games. That's what really confuses me. For the Broncos, it's probably in just best interest to forget about last week's game against the Ravens and move forward. A short memory helps in the NFL. With them on the road against their divisional rival, they can't afford another game like last week. The best thing out of the Denver Broncos right now is their rookie quarterback, Bo Nix. He has been an exceptional player all season long. Some rookie mistakes here and there, which is predictable, but he's a great scrambler, and he does have a pretty good arm too. So within the next 2 or 3 years, I can see him in the same realm as Josh Allen of today. But if we are to pit these teams against one another, I am going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs on the win. There are 2 situations. If the Kansas City Chiefs win, it's because of attrition and their depth. If the Broncos win, it's going to be due to Bo Nix and a combination of mistakes by the Chiefs. But I just don't see that happening. Kansas City wins 24-13. Buffalo Bills and Indianapolis Colts. The Buffalo Bills are heading to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Colts fans, beware. Last week, the Bills hosted the Miami Dolphins and won 30-27. It was a very gritty game. No one on the Bills played their best except for one key player, and that was their kicker, Tyler Bass. He had 3 field goals in that game, including the game winner from 61 yards. For the Colts, well, the whole week started with head coach Shane Steichen benching Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco, which sent shockwaves throughout the whole football world. Being questioned why, Steichen replied that Flacco gave the Colts the best chance at winning, and sure enough, it didn't. Wrong-o. On their Sunday night performance against the Vikings, the Colts did a terrible job on offense. They couldn't get Jonathan Taylor going, Flacco couldn't throw down the field, and a crucial missed field goal by Matt Gay. The only touchdown the Colts scored was a defensive one, where defensive tackle Grover Stewart sacked Sam Darnold fumbled, Kenny Moore ran it all the way down for the touchdown. That is the only touchdown for the Colts. That is abysmal. Their defense is back, but now their offense is terrible. I'm trying to be optimistic as a Colts fan, but there's not much hope on this. It would take a miracle for the Colts to win, but the only advantage they have is playing at home. So despite me criticizing the team as much as I have in the last few seconds, please give me the Colts here in a nail-biter 24-23 win. No, I'm not expecting them to win, but I'm going with my heart here. Pittsburgh Steelers and Washington Commanders. Well, so far, the Russell Wilson trade has been pretty good for the Steelers. They have also become another sleeper team that can sneak themselves high in the playoffs. Pittsburgh was coming off of a bye week, but prior to that, they had a matchup against the New York Giants where they beat them 26-18. Traditionally, this is where the Steelers start to get their rhythm going, and with an impressive record already, they are likely to win about 10 to 11 games. That is, if everyone stays healthy. I'm looking at you, Russell Wilson, and I'm looking at you, TJ Watt. The Washington Commanders have been my favorite team to watch on the NFC side all season long. Jaden Daniels has been fun to watch, and I think he's going to be Rookie of the Year. I can't say that enough. Terry McLaurin has had the best season so far for his career, and the timeless Austin Eckler, who is getting a second win in his career. He too has been fun to watch, but things got kind of dicey in their last matchup when they too played the New York Giants, winning only by 5 points. I really love how the Commanders can score a ton of points, but they need to make sure that their defense does not allow any points too, especially in the later quarters. I can see this one as being the game of the week so far. At least this is going to be the most interesting of the 1 o'clock matchups. But if I'm a betting man, I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders on this one. Yes, they are a younger team, but I think they're more explosive. So give me the Washington Commanders to win this 30-21. Minnesota Vikings and Jacksonville Jaguars. You mean to tell me I have to bring this game up again? Okay. The Minnesota Vikings are entering this week's matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last week they took on the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football where they beat them 21-13. Justin Jefferson had a game, Sam Darnold had a game, and there was a pass to Jordan Addison that was highlight worthy. Very good catch, I will admit that. I have no quarrel with the Vikings. In fact, I like the team as a whole. I like Sam Darnold, seeing that he's getting a second chance in his career, and I like watching Justin Jefferson. For the Jaguars, they are coming off of a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, and it was by sheer physical dominance. The Jags defense allowed so many good plays to happen, it was quite embarrassing, and Trevor Lawrence can't do it all on his own. This has not been his year, and even though he's a divisional rival, I still like watching Trevor Lawrence. But if you can take away anything from that last matchup, it was the Saquon Barkley run where he juked, spun, and launched himself over Ronald Darby. As the famous Indiana Pacer legend Reggie Miller always says, this is your Kodak moment. I think personally things will go from bad to worse for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Despite them playing at home, I just don't see them winning this one. Minnesota is just too powerful on both offense and defense. So Minnesota takes care of business. They went on the road 28-10. New England Patriots and Chicago Bears. When I was growing up, as a young Colts fan, whenever I was watching the game and I'd see at the bottom of the TV that score ticker, and you'd see the Patriots trailing or losing, which believe me was rare, it was a good day for everyone. But now it almost feels sad, and last week's game against the Titans was sad enough. The Patriots did trail for most of the game, but then Drake May threw a dazzling touchdown pass that got them into overtime, which they eventually lost in, which was an interception, which was his second of the day, sealing the game for the Titans. For the Bears, it seems that Caleb Williams, their star quarterback, has kind of cooled off after a very hot stretch early in the season. Last week, the Bears lost on the road to the Arizona Cardinals 29-9, with their only points being 3 field goals. The one stat in this game that made me raise my eyebrow was that Caleb Williams was sacked 6 times. You're not going to find much luck if your rookie quarterback is being pressured that much. But on the bright side, Rome Odunze had 104 yards in receiving over 5 receptions. It's always going to be fun seeing 2 rookie quarterbacks go head-to-head with each other, but I think better weapons, better strategy, and a better defense is going to prevail. So who am I going to pick?
The Bears!
That's right, I'm going to pick Chicago to win this 21-10. Tennessee Titans and Los Angeles Chargers. The Tennessee Titans defended home turf against the New England Patriots where they won in overtime 23-20. Despite them losing DeAndre Hopkins, their star wide receiver, to the Kansas City Chiefs, they prevailed and won the game in overtime. Although they are struggling this season, the Titans' defense has been the strongest part about them. They just need to figure out the quarterback problem. But the Chargers, they went to work last week against the Cleveland Browns and beat them on the road 27-10. Their team is starting to blend together and they have been impressive to watch so far this season, with the inclusion of J.K. Dobbins and Quentin Johnson being better this year than he was last. They are definitely turning heads to make a push in the playoffs. Between these two teams, I'm going to go with the Chargers on this one. Overall, as a team, they're better on offense and on defense, and Justin Herbert, I think, is the key factor to all of it. So Chargers are going to get the win here, and it's going to be in a blowout at home, 31-3. Philadelphia Eagles and Dallas Cowboys. Not a single doubt in my mind that the Philadelphia Eagles have found their stride this season. Last week they were defending home turf against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they defeated them very soundly. And that game as a whole had multiple highlight reels. Specifically Devontae Smith's touchdown catch, and now the world famous Saquon Barkley hurdle. Definitely up there for play of the year. For the Cowboys, their struggles are starting to stack. They had no answer to the Atlanta Falcons, where they were defeated handsomely. Running back Rico Dowdle, he had a great game, but that's pretty much all that was good for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott got hurt, Cooper Rush had to fill in. All I can say for the Cowboys is at least you're getting Micah Parsons back, and I believe DeMarcus Lawrence. This is being played in Jerry World, but Dak Prescott is hurt, having to miss multiple weeks. I just can't see the Cowboys defending home turf with a win. So I'm going to go with the Eagles to win this one, and I think this is going to be a nice scoring affair for both teams, but I think it's going to be the Eagles at the end. Philly takes it 28-20. New York Jets and Arizona Cardinals. It feels like it's been forever since the Jets had a break that went their way. With the crazy last few weeks that they've had, firing Robert Saleh and also getting Devontae Adams and Hassan Reddick, you would think their record would be a little bit better than what it really is. So expectations were set at a pretty high level going into the Thursday night game last week against the Houston Texans. And sure enough, Aaron Rodgers finally got it down, throwing 3 touchdown passes, one of which finally to Devontae Adams, and a snapshot moment for Garrett Wilson where he caught a touchdown pass one-handed and it looked like the Jordan logo. That was a really cool catch. And the defense showed up for the Jets as well. They sacked CJ Stroud 8 times in that game, they forced a fumble, and they only allowed 13 points. It's good to see that the Jets are getting the ball rolling finally, but they have a lot of ground to make up and a lot of luck if they're going to catch up to the Buffalo Bills, let alone 2, maybe even a playoff berth. For the Arizona Cardinals, wow, you guys have changed a lot in the last few weeks. 3 straight wins, you cooled off Caleb Williams, and you guys are finding ways to win that don't involve luck. I've always had a soft spot for the Cardinals. I've always liked the team, a lot of their legacy players in the past years like Larry Fitzgerald, Kurt Warner, and so forth, Edgerrin James too. So seeing them win 3 straight games gives me a little bit of a nostalgic craze, and I love seeing that. Out of all the 4 o'clock games, I think this is the one I'm going to sit down to watch. I think this is going to be a really fun one. Now that you got the Jets offense starting to become explosive, and you got Kyler Murray looking like he did a few years ago, it's really going to be hard to pick who's going to win. But I do think the Jets are going to be more desperate for the win, and I think that's what's going to kind of push them a little bit more. They have more offensive weapons. Nothing against Marvin Harrison Jr. or Michael Wilson or James Conner on the Cardinals. I just think that team is desperate for a win more than the Cardinals. So give me the Jets winning this one on the road, 24-20. Detroit Lions and Houston Texans. There are 2 things inevitable in football, and that's penalties and NFC North matchups with harsh weather. And this game had both. Last week, the Detroit Lions squared off against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field in a very wet, contested matchup. And it wasn't a pretty win by all means, but a win is a win. Play of the game was a Jordan Love interception that was picked off by Kirby Joseph for 27 yards and taken for a pick 6. This solidified their 7-1 record for the first time since 1956. Great win for Detroit. And for the Texans, as recently mentioned, they lost to the New York Jets in Thursday Night Football last week. CJ Stroud couldn't get anything done. He was sacked 8 times. He really had no chance to get anything going through the air. The Texans' only touchdown was a 3-yard run by Joe Mixon. He has been the main constant for the team ever since week 1, where he had 106 yards last week and averaged 4.4 yards a carry. And seeing Tank Dell step up for the injured Stephon Diggs, 126 yards for 6 receptions, he definitely had an impressive day despite the loss. See, this is a tough one. Houston plays extremely well at home, but the Lions have a more fortified offense and defense. The Lions are not necessarily the best in the first quarter, statistically, but they can finish games better than the Texans. So for Sunday Night Football, my pick is with the Detroit Lions. They will seal the deal and extend their record to 8-1 with a score of 27-17. Miami Dolphins and LA Rams. First of all, I just want to establish this. I'm very happy that Tua is back in the game. He seems like a down-to-earth kind of dude, and I wish him the best. But why in God's name do you not use the Guardian cap? I know, to each his own. Last week, the Dolphins had a key matchup against their divisional rival, the Buffalo Bills, where they lost 27-30. Although it was an impressive game for Tua and the rest of the Dolphins, it just wasn't enough to keep up with the Buffalo Bills. Shout out to Devon Achane for 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing and 1 receiving. The Los Angeles Rams, they had a wild game against the Seattle Seahawks. They started off really slow in the first half, and then Puka Nacua decided to pull a Mike Tyson.
What time is it?
5:30, sir.
Which eventually got him ejected. It's always the second guy who throws the punch that gets caught. Regardless, the Rams stood strong and were resilient, tying the game up into overtime and finishing it off with a game-winning drive for a 39-yard touchdown pass to Demarcus Robinson. Matt Stafford may be one of the older guys in the NFL, but he's still timeless. With this head-to-head matchup on Monday Night Football, I'm going to go with the LA Rams on this one. I think this will be the last week that Tua kind of shakes off all the cobwebs and gets back to form. Yes, he has Jalen Waddle, and yes, he has Tyreek Hill, and yes, he also has his dynamic duo of running backs. But with it being a primetime game for Matt Stafford, I really just can't say no to that. It's based on gut, not statistics. So give me the Rams to win this one on Monday Night Football over the Miami Dolphins, 28-20. And with that, another video is come and gone. If you made it through the whole video, thank you so much for watching and listening to me. I put a ton of work and effort into making these videos, and you guys watching these mean the world to me. And if you like this content, or NFL football for that matter, please like and subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of my videos or shorts. Until next time, peace.